Welcome back to Fox 9 Morning News.
Well, that'll get your toe tapping. That's a little sample of a growing podcast focused on local musicians and their creative process. This is a podcast that is growing, and it is focused on some artists right here in the Midwest. A new season of the podcast, Smouse in the House, was released just this week, giving us an inside look at not only musicians here in the Midwest, but also their creative process. Joining me now is podcaster Tom Smouse and Jaclyn Nott, co-founder of local digital media outlet Adventures in America. How are you? Americana. Adventures in Americana. There we go. I'll get it right. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
a very patriotic theme and Midwest theme here for this weekend. Tell me how this podcast got started and what it's all about. Obviously, we have Tom Smouse of Smouse in the House, so kind of needs no introduction there.
Yeah.
But how did this all get started?
Well, myself and my friend Carol Roth, we are the co-founders of Adventures in Americana, which actually started in January 2021 in the middle of yet another lockdown. And we were just lamenting to each other how much we enjoyed going to see live concerts and how much it actually changed our outlook on life. And just, I don't know, it just makes you feel happy when you see live music, and music in itself was so important to us. So we decided we wanted to do something to support the local and regional artists, and it actually started blossoming into this. We're writing articles about, albums that are coming out, people doing webcasts or something like that, like on Zoom, like kitchen concerts and stuff like that, just trying to highlight any way that people could buy merch to support them. And then once things started opening up again, we're reviewing shows, and we have an events calendar, which actually doesn't really exist for Americana anywhere in the Twin Cities. So we just compile all the venues, trying to support the venues and the artists. And it's our idea of Americana is vast, actually. So we try to cover what is steeped in roots music, essentially. So it's country, it's folk, blues. It can be influences from other entirely different ones, not just acoustic, could be electric. So it's pretty vast, and we try to, the whole point is to support local and regional artists, especially the underdogs, the ones that don't get a lot of coverage. So,
and are looking to grow and reach an audience. Tom, talk about your role as the podcaster who is physically going into these artists' homes, and we played a little sampling of some of the music that somebody shared with you at one point, but really this sounds like a very long personal conversation with these folks.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that sets our podcast apart from a lot of others. We're kind of the guest in this. We go into these artists' homes and see where they're at, and we don't bring a large team, so it's usually just me that goes in there and really kind of see where they live, where they create music, and get to know them a little bit better. And I mean, I think there's something to be said. We spent so much time in our homes during the pandemic that we did so many creative things there, and we had all of our outlets there. So going into an artist's home, I think there's a level of comfort that they have. I've interviewed a lot of bands over the phone and backstage at shows, and this is different. I mean, it feels really unique to be talking to an artist in their own space. They open up, they talk a little bit more, there's more joking. We're not constrained by a time as well. So it's, I think it's a really good way to get to the meat of songwriting and where they learn to write.
And together you've done one whole season, so how many artists is that? And then now you're growing, and now you have a second season in the works. So how many artists, how many bands have you interviewed at this point that would be included in this?
Season 1 was 7 artists, and this season will be about 7 as well. So we launched the first one last week with Pit Stop, who's a really cool band, and this week, Tuesday, we'll be coming out with our second one. So
excellent.
Yeah, and kind of week per week, you have to listen to kind of know who's going to be coming on next.
Well, definitely.
There's an element of surprise.
Yeah, we like surprises. That's
and they're all either
for.
from Minnesota or Wisconsin, so it's definitely local this time around.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. Tell people where they can find these podcasts.
The website is adventuresinamericana.com. You can also find it on all podcast platforms, including SoundCloud, Apple, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera.
Again, it's called Smouse in the House with
Yep.
Tom and Jaclyn. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're
We
welcome. Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
Yeah,
Thank
this is great.
you.
Perfect if you're heading on a road trip and need some, have some long drives, something to listen to, a little music mixed in. Good weekend for that. We know a lot of people are road tripping. Alex,